Now we're here with Diana Chambers, the author of The Secret War of Julia Child. It seems a simple book at start, but it's actually a metaphor for something that lies under the surface, something that is deep-rooted in South Asian culture and the community. So what really interested you, what spoke to you in your real-life experiences to make you write this book?
At university, I studied Indian art history and Indian history. And I've always been very connected to India and have traveled here over the years and kept up on everything going on. And I wrote an earlier book called Star of India about a Hollywood actress that marries the Maharaja of Cooch Behar right after World War II. And it leads up to Indian independence. And that was a story that interested me in the same way that this interested me, because I'm really quite interested in history and politics. And so often I'll write a story about one person, in this case, the American chef that really influenced cooking in the United States, Julia Child. Her formative years were spent in South Asia during World War II with the American spy agency, the Office of Strategic Services, the first American spy agency, OSS. And I love spy stories. So I had so many things that was interesting to me. I had the whole independence movement, because that was leading up to it. It was put on hold with this during the war, but it was always there in the background waiting for peacetime. And Julia, with her experiences with spying, and what I find very interesting, given her final career as a chef, was she grew up with no liking of food at all. She ate what in America they call meat and potatoes. No spices, no fresh food, really not very interesting. And she gets off the troop ship in Bombay in 1944, and the first thing she and her friends do is go to have a good meal. Well, they go to the Taj Bombay, and they do have a good meal. They have fresh naan glistening with butter. They have thick, pulpy mango juice. They have chicken curry with all the spices. They have all the little condiments of the thali. And it's an amazing experience for her. And it turns her head around to what life could be if you knew the flavors possible in food. So this opened her to the cultures of India and then Ceylon, and she went to the markets, and she began to see a bigger world than she had come. And this story then takes place against the backdrop of the real story, which was World War II in Asia. And so I think that is the important story, that we enter it not from an academic point of view, but from a real character who's experiencing it with her friends, with her husband-to-be, and their contributions to the eventual outcome of peace.
Absolutely beautiful, stunning way to write, Diana. But also thinking about it, it's going to be a new generation, an upcoming generation that's now picking up your books from stalls and reading it. A generation that probably doesn't, many of them don't even really know what it's like to be living through war. So what message, what impact do you think this book, in your sense, you would envisage making on them? What kind of an impact?
Well, that's it. Is every generation moves further away from this story. And just like now, maybe World War I is really ancient history. But World War II, people should understand what world wars can do, how cruel and painful, and we should do everything we can to avoid.
Absolutely.
And so I do want people to know about that. Many people, young people, don't know Julia Child. And so, but I see her as a story of a young woman that has great ambitions, great drive and energy, but she doesn't know where to put it. She's looking for her own voice in life. And so I think it's a story for all young women, for young men and boys too, because not everyone is born knowing exactly what they want to do. I'm going to be a doctor. I'm going to be a professor. No, but she knew she had something. She wanted a creative life. That was the highest compliment she could give someone, was to say what a creative idea or work of art. And that comes from me, because I notice that my biggest compliment is if I say, this is how creative of you. And I think your questions are very creative and insightful.
Thank you.
So yeah, I would like people to see their world, the world that they take for granted, and step back and imagine what it was like 75 years ago, quite a long time ago.
Yeah. That's great. That's great.
And your great-grandparents and your grandparents and, you know, the buildings around us, some of them have a history that we don't even know. And I discovered a lot of that history while I was researching this book.
That's so insightful, so beautiful to hear. It makes us think about how many things we are taking for granted around us right now, in this very moment.
True.
Yeah. But how has your, drawing back from all of that deep conversation, how has your experience been here today? Here in Colombo, at the heart of Sri Lanka, how has it been?
Well, I won't just say today. I'll say since I arrived Wednesday night at midnight from Singapore, I'll say that I've been met by the most amazing warmth and hospitality. The people have been so gracious and making me feel at home, and it's really been wonderful, and I'm so honored to be, because of my life personally, the arc of coming here at a young age and then being here and having people read my book. It's so meaningful. I don't think there could be a more meaningful place for me. The location of this book in Kandy.
Oh,
this book took place in
absolutely.
Kandy, imagine. So
It's perfect.
Yeah, it's really a great personal story, and it's a story of an important period of history and an important woman.
Thank you so much. We're so glad we had you on here. We hope you enjoyed the interview.
I
And
learned a lot.
we learned a lot too, and I'm sure a lot of people will learn a lot watching this. So, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.
All right.